Now, ptcgl, we all know, has been pretty much a letdown on the development front. Granted, it's doing its job. It's still a buggy mess, don't get me wrong. There's still bugs out there that are just ridiculous and still haven't been solved and probably won't be for God knows how long. It does the job, at least to a degree, at least for me as a content creator. But there was a post on Twitter that showed us what it could have been if they actually had creative people in charge of the decision-making for designing what the UI of this game was. And I made sure I said that very carefully because I'm sure the developers themselves are talented, but it's the people in control, the one determining what is created, have absolutely no idea what even the word creativity probably means. They probably thought the most complex thing they could think of is a hexagon, hence why there's so many of them in ptcglive. But let me show you what I'm talking about. We have here a tweet from Pokémon.gg, and they said a tweet here, I redesigned the UI of Pokemon TCG Live for fun with an idea of customizable playmats. Now that already isn't nice, but if you just look at what this Donny came up with. Hold on, let me remove my camera so you can get a proper view here. Look at this, bro. Look at the, it just looks so much better. The customizable playmat here and here. The simple geometric design of just this curve. It fits the ptcgl layout already. You can clearly tell that these images were taken from ptcgl and just expanded on. But they posted this. There's some other pictures as well that they showed here. This is, of course, during the beginning of the game, other playmats as well. I love the kind of blur it has and the fade. It's just good design overall. Here's an example of an attack happening. See the damage being placed, the animation taking place as well as they do it. It honestly just looks really good. They also posted one more of the victory screen, which of course they didn't win. It's a lie. There's still 6 prizes there. But you notice it seems they removed, interestingly enough, it seems like they removed the scoreboard, I think, which is on the right-hand side here on ptcgl, which makes so much sense because you don't need that additional info. It just gives you the info you kind of have here, and you already have your pricing number here to tell you. You don't need the whole, 6 scoreboard on the right-hand side. It's a complete waste of space. But point is, this is an incredible redesign. And you could just really see it, just focusing in on some stuff here. I love the fact that, the avatars, which are crap, are just tightly placed in a circle here with the name, with the time. It's legible with the dark backgrounds, and you can just see the complexity of this design a bit more. The energy, if you can see here, is nice. It's just on the bottom left-hand side, kind of back to the PTCGO days, highlighted a little bit, but not in the way, Look at this little collection here. If I can bring it down, can I do it like this? Will it work? Oh, it does work. Look at this. Yeah, there we go. Zooming in, bro. We are gaming. Yeah, look at this. I love this. And what's super nice is the color of the glow. Look at the highlight. It's just magnificent, absolutely beautiful, kind of in line with the theme of things. It kind of looks like a bit Marvel Snappy if you think about it, right? If you look at Marvel Snap, let me see if I can get an example. So here's Marvel Snap for an example. You can see kind of the glowing around the cards and stuff like that. Just a nice color scheme, actually a very similar color scheme to Marvel Snap. So I'm assuming there was some inspiration taken from there because it is very Marvel Snappy. Now this of course led me to be a bit upset because I looked at this and went, I would love that. So I tweeted, this is what happens when you have creative people work on your client. And I say what I mean because I want to expand a little bit on that, because it's clear that we're working with the Unity engine here. I think it's the Unity engine or the Unreal engine. No, it's the Unity engine, and that doesn't limit you. Okay, so the argument of the fact that you're limited by the engine you're using and all that kind of stuff, you're not. The engine is capable, right? So let me show you a couple of games that was made on the engine. You just type it into Google and you have Subnautica here, a big game. Pokemon Go, funnily enough, was made on it. Cuphead, Ori and the Blind Forest. We have City Skyline. But I went down a little bit more. Fall Guys, I went down a little bit more. I was like, oh, well, this is a card game, right? And the thing is, card games are different. You design them differently. Hearthstone is here. Do you want to see some Hearthstone gameplay? Here you go. A little bit simple, but the animation is there. You know what I'm saying? Look at this. Oh, it comes down. There's a bit of a, this is made in the same engine that Pokemon TCG Live is made in. All right. Granted, with probably a better budget, with a better team, with more time to develop, right? With more attention to detail that they can give. But ultimately, someone decided to create this and spearhead the design of Hearthstone. Now, if I'm correct, Hearthstone is developed by Blizzard, which is, we won't go into that. But the point of the fact is, what you're seeing on screen right here is more than possible with PTCG Live, at least when it comes to the technical element of it. Now, again, I have to clarify that they probably aren't given the budget and the time and the people ahead of the development, at least in terms of design and creativity, just doesn't have any interest enough to make it look like this, which is the most disappointing thing. But we all know that, right? But there may be someone who does have that interest. And maybe that someone or something is Twinleaf. Because I decided to tag DanTDM and Twinleaf in this saying, wrote this terribly, but if design is ever considered or possible throughout development, this could be worth keeping in mind. Kind of pointing out that this is something that people are going to look for when wanting to play the Pokemon TCG. Does it actually look good? Now, granted, let's clarify a few things, all right? It's already been clarified by DanTDM that, I think he said this specifically on the Unreal, oh God, what's the Uncommon Energy podcast. I don't mean any digs there. I actually watched that, so it just skipped my brain as I was waffling. But he explicitly stated that there is no intent to rival ptcglive or to compete with ptcglive, more so to just be a client in and of itself for people to test with, right? And that's clearly the priority. But you could still make it look good. And there's a couple of problems you can think about here. First off, they're using Pokemon playmats, which I assume are designed and created by TPCI, which means you would need the rights to use those images, right? Especially if they have Pokemon's likeness. Now, you might be wondering, well, Sean, that is a problem. How are they going to go about that? Well, I would assume the same way that they've managed to go around being able to use the images for Twinleaf itself. I believe what they're planning to do, I could be wrong here, and be on the good side of the Pokemon legal team, is by making the user download the images, which means they themselves aren't distributing them. At least that's the idea. So you could technically do the same thing with the playmats, I guess, if there are digital images online where you can do that. I'm not sure, well, there is clearly because they used it here. So that would be one way to navigate it, I would expect. But again, I could be wrong. I'm an outsider looking in on the development, not an insider looking out. But most importantly, the reason why I'm actually talking about this is because Joe is developing. I think he's the lead developer or co-lead developer from Team Twinleaf, said already working on it. So that's interesting. I'm not going to ask too much, so I don't want to pry where I shouldn't pry, but that's very interesting. Are they looking to get Pokemon.dg on their side to actually design the interface for Twinleaf? Is it, did they have that already in the works, or did they have already someone else designing a UI element? But ultimately, it's interesting. What's even more interesting, if I want to get a bit more tinfoil hatty, is the author, Pokemon.gg, actually deleted the post which I replied to, tagging them. That post said something down the line of they're interested in making some more, maybe even some animations. That's interesting. Does that mean if Pokemon.gg could be picked up by the team at Twinleaf to then work on animations for Twinleaf plus UI design, we could be getting something really good looking with Twinleaf. That, though, is all speculation. Just basing on my interactions on Twitter, what I've seen. But what's interesting is the response is pretty intense from this tweet. It got 42K views, 623 likes, which means that's quite a decent ratio when it comes to Twitter for that kind of stuff. So honestly, it actually leads to even more of a positive outlook for Twinleaf coming into the future after having a few shakes here and there in development. But well and truly, it's just this... It's so sad, really, when it comes to it, because ptcgl could have been something like this if the creative, I'm going to say creative director, I guess is the best way to describe it, was someone who was actually competent. I'm sorry, it's harsh, I know, but you can see the difference night and day, right? Like, this is what we have. Granted, the hand's a bit different. It's a bit of an older variant. And this is what we could have had. If for some reason they were able to just put a bit more effort, you know, if they were able to, if they decided to. But no, we've got boring hexagons. Now, yes, am I using this as another opportunity to just take a dig at the developers? Look, okay, I'm not actually trying to dig them, all right? I'm just stating things here that it just proves the point further as to how much of a letdown ptcglive is, and just go, hey, let's not get complacent here. Let's not sit there and start to, you know, develop bloody Stockholm syndrome and act like ptcgl is great as it is. It's not. It's still terribly designed. However, it's all we have. And ultimately, it's just a bit of a theoretical way of looking at things, I guess, of what could have been if things went a bit of a different way, or what things could be if some positive changes were made in the development team of ptcglive. But more interestingly, to see how this is taken into account with Twinleaf, because there's clearly interest there. But ultimately, we are going to leave it there. Yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts, but that's really it. See ya.